Welcome to Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
From inventory and pricing to EVs and tariffs, today we are joined by Massie, who's the general manager at Marine Chevrolet, to learn what she's seen on the ground and what's top of mind now as we're going into the second half of the year. So thank you so much, Crystal, for joining us on the show today.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate you allowing me just to have part of the conversation.
Sure. So let's start with the overall market. How are you doing right there in North Carolina today? How's your business?
So for us, things are great. We've actually seen a steady demand across both new and used vehicles. The market has definitely shifted. I think we're starting to see the haves and the have-nots, the feast and the famine start to rise up. That sometimes do when the market shifts.
Yes.
On the new side, those inventory levels, they've stabilized for us compared to the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Factory incentives obviously help, move that metal. And then I'd say for used cars, they're still holding their value, but pricing has become a bit more competitive in the marketplace. So sourcing, is a little more difficult.
Talk to me about the sourcing. Where do you source your used cars from?
We source from many places. We actually have a really fantastic service drive that we're able to source a lot of customers' vehicles from. And those vehicles obviously are serviced here. So having access to those service records makes a huge deal, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we do have to play into the auction purchases, but we try to make sure that they, meet our retail standard. We want to make sure that we have the right mix.
Is purchasing used cars off of the service drive something new for you, maybe since COVID, or were you doing it even prior to COVID?
So we were doing it prior to COVID, but I would say now we're more selective and really try to fill the holes. We don't necessarily purchase everything, but we know those late model vehicles, the SUVs, trucks, obviously those fast movers, we make sure that we keep our inventory aligned for that demand. Okay.
And as far as fixed ops itself is going, everybody reports that fixed ops going pretty strong right now. Do you find it to be the case as well?
Our fixed ops is humming. Our guys are doing great. We're retailing customer pay hours. We're selling tires. We're selling maintenance service. We have a great fixed ops team.
That's great. What do you say to those dealers that have not jumped into selling tires at their store yet? They hear that when you sell the tire, you don't really make any money. It's really used to bring that customer back so that they don't go anywhere else to have their vehicle serviced. So I guess A, have you found it to be profitable? And then B, what would your advice be to those dealers that are thinking about selling tires at their store?
So tires is incredibly important at Marine Chevrolet. As you noted, that retention metric, is very measurable. Are they profitable? Not really. We do price match guarantee.
Yeah.
But we do have the ability to sell some other things from it, right? We might get the alignment or
sure.
For instance, we may be able to do that, but we also may be able to sell them a car, and it might not be that they're trading that one, but they may need another, within their household. So we take advantage of those opportunities when they present themselves.
Yeah, very, very good point. That's a great point. We're seeing people obviously keep their cars longer now. It's not unusual to see somebody driving a 12 or 13-year-old car with almost 200,000 miles on it. And, that's a vehicle that is finding its way back into service many more times, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no question. On a car like that, if a vehicle comes in and let's say it's a 4 or 5-year-old car, but it's got 100,000 miles on it, but it's in great shape otherwise, is that a car that you would buy in retail?
Potentially. We do evaluate them individually. As you can imagine, a high mileage vehicle that's in good condition with a solid service history, that might be a great fit for one of our value-driven customers. But it does have to meet the Marine Chevrolet standard. Obviously, we want to make sure it's safe before they put their family in it.
Sure.
And even on a grander scale, we are a family-owned dealership. We are in a military community, and our reputation really means everything. So we're not going to put a vehicle on the lot just to move a unit. That wouldn't make sense, right? That's not a great long-term play.
No, that's for sure. Having said that about being in a military town like you are, and the average price of a new car being almost, $49,000, and affordability being a major factor, that's got to be a tough needle to thread there, right? I mean, you've got consumers that in your market that are very budget conscious, right?
We absolutely do. And that's where those used vehicles, oftentimes come into play. But obviously, there are some great players in Chevrolet, and we can absorb some of that negative equity, when necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Equinox, and then some of the other entry level SUVs. Those are always great options,
Right.
especially for young military families. Maybe they're just starting out, early 20s.
Yeah.
That's a great vehicle. It's stable, gets them to and from their home state.
Yeah, for sure. Now, EVs have obviously been a very hot topic over the last few years, and now we're seeing the rollback of the tax credit. Talk to me about that. What kind of an impact will that have in your store, if any?
Well, we're not a big EV store. It hasn't really caught fire here in Eastern North Carolina, and a lot of that's because of things that you see across the country, right? Charging infrastructure, range anxiety, long-term cost of ownership, that's important. And we'd be foolish to think that the rollback of those tax credits wouldn't slow adoption. That $7,500, that does make affordability an option for some of our buyers.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, we're still focused on education and we're focused on transparency. And if the customers want to explore that, we want to determine what's best for their lifestyle and help them make that decision.
Yeah. Are you doing much leasing out of your store?
We do some leasing, more leasing now than we did previously. And to be honest with you, our EVs, most of those do become leases. One additional thing to note on EVs that's different for us is there's a defense bill that we've heard that there are funds earmarked that will aid in some of the EV initiatives aboard the Marine Corps base. And I do think once that's in place, maybe that infrastructure will change that trajectory in our area.
So there's going to be incentives for the military as it relates to EVs. Is that what you're saying?
No, they're going to have some infrastructure dollars to where they can put charging stations at things like the commissary, the military exchange, where right now that's very prohibitive, right? They don't own the homes on base, so you're not going to install something like that. It's not in the common areas. So it is hard for us to retail to military if, they don't have that available to them. So once that shift, happens in just a few years, we know it's coming. We'll be prepared, when it's time. But I do think it's a little early.
Yeah, for sure. Now, we're hearing so much, obviously, in the media about tariffs and what President Trump plans to do with trying to balance the trade in the country. What kind of a impact has that had on your sales there at Chevrolet? There's been a number of Chevy dealers that I've spoken to that have said their business has actually picked up because more people, more consumers have looked at buying a Chevrolet or maybe another type of domestic brand instead of going with a foreign brand. Have you found that to be the case as well?
I would say so. The first half of the year, General Motors is up double digits. So I would say that some of that is pull ahead. All the automakers are feeling those pressure from the tariffs, both vehicles and, those parts that are manufactured overseas. And I know we're not going to be an exception to that. But I do trust that GM is going to actively work behind the scenes to help absorb and offset, much of that impact. Now, from our end, we're not seeing major pricing changes just yet, though we know it's on the horizon. I mean, I was just reading something, this morning in relation to that, like, we know it's right around the corner, right? But most customers aren't really bringing it up when they come to transact with us. So there's a lot of that that's outside of our control, Jim. I think the best thing that we can do as car dealers is just focus on what we can control. Just make sure that we're staying steady and that we're educating ourselves, our teams, our clients, and just remain transparent. I think transparency goes a long way. Yeah,
no question about it. Now, you are a very talented general manager and you happen to be female, and we don't see enough females in the industry. What do you think, and I think you're uniquely qualified to answer this question, what do you think the industry needs to do in retail automotive to attract more females like yourself to either enter the industry or to move up through the industry to become a general manager?
So, fun fact, my daughter is 20. She's a college graduate and she's just moved into the industry. And I
That's
am
great.
pushing her just as hard as she can to learn. And whenever she came in, it wasn't really something that she was keen on. She wasn't excited about it. But now she's got a little bit of her, in her blood, I think.
Sure.
Um,
And she sees her
Telling the
mom as a
story.
successful,
Well,
general manager of a very progressive Chevy store there, right?
well, thank you. I appreciate that. We have a big team and a lot of talented people under this rooftop.
Yeah.
And obviously, our dealer principal, Mike Alford, that name, precedes much of the success here, and just
Sure.
appreciate the opportunities given.
Yeah.
I think continuing to encourage, tell this story,
Hmm.
invite them to the table, and when they're unsure of themselves, just continue to reaffirm that they have the skill set for it. A lot of times we sell ourselves short, and we're basically like we get in our own way sometimes, right?
Yeah.
I think just having some self confidence.
Sure, sure. Many females that I've spoken to that are in the industry or have been in the industry, got out of the industry, they would point to a very very rigorous work schedule, sometimes 60 hours a week. It doesn't allow them to get to certain games or sporting events or things like that for their kids. Also, the fluctuation in pay that happens to be in the auto industry if they're on a commission basis. Do you see that as some of the obstacles for women that might consider the auto industry?
Jim, honestly, I could consider that an obstacle for male or female. A
Yeah,
lot of one parent households out there, and sometimes that stability, whether it be schedule or income,
sure.
things, having a base salary, of some sort, that if they don't meet a quota, they have that safety net, but also showing them the earning potential and what it can mean for their family. I mean, there are some really, really great opportunities in automotive and things that we're able to give our children that maybe we didn't have growing up.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure. It's a great
and
industry, whether you like to your point, whether you're male or female. And you're right, a lot of those things do pertain to to both sexes, right? Whether you're male or female, you're still going to have long hours. You're still going to have a fluctuating pay, and you just got to make the best of it, right?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, as we look to the second half of the year, what is there anything that keeps you up at night? Is there anything that you are concerned about as you are there running the Chevrolet store in North Carolina?
Jim, I won't say that I'm an optimist, but I would say that I'm a realist. Definitely not swaying toward the pessimist side. I think a lot of things we control ourselves. And with that, if the economy is bad, we don't give in. We say we choose not to participate. That's what I tell people a lot of times. They say sales are down. So well, that's fine, but we're choosing not to participate. And they always look at me crazy. And then,
I love it.
after they've heard it a time or two, it catches on. I think we just have to really concentrate on the things that we can control, right? We
Yeah,
can control things like building customer trust and
so
operational
true.
efficiencies. We can't control interest rates. We can't control the
That's right.
economy and those uncertainties. Um, but
So
we can
true.
definitely focus on delivering a frictionless, transparent buying experience.
That's right.
Whether they walk in online or walk in to our showroom
Yep.
or walk in online. We always say it's like our digital showroom.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think as long as every touch point, we build that trust and we show them that long-term relationships really what it's all about, we'll be fine in the long run.
Yeah,
Now,
for sure.
internally, we are doubling down on things like inventory management,
Hmm.
improving turn, investing in team development. To your point earlier, I think team development and retention is incredibly important.
Yeah.
We know that a strong, consistent team, they're going to deliver a better customer experience.
Yep.
And then finally, shameless plug, we're always looking for creative ways to support collaboration with other businesses and
Hmm.
organizations for greater community impact. I mean, that is really big here at Marine Chevy.
That's great. That's fantastic. Yeah, so many dealers give back to their communities in a very big way. I know that Mike Alfred and his whole team and family have always done that, and so kudos to you guys for stepping up. But you've built an incredible company there, and obviously to have you at the helm there running things, I'm sure makes Mike feel pretty good, right?
And team effort, and I think we all enjoy working together. Absolutely.
Yep, for sure. Crystal Massie, General Manager of Marine Chevrolet. Thank you so much for joining us here at CBT News. Very much appreciated. Love to do a follow-up with you as we move along here to see how things are working out.
Thank you, Jim. I'm honored.
Great.
I hope you have a great day.
You as well. Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.